What's going on, guys? Super Insane 18 here, and we are bringing you our Snake Eye Fiendsmith deck profile. Now, over the last week and a half, this has been the most requested video that I have had because I did put out that hour-long combo video, so we want to go ahead and finally show you guys the build. In full transparency, the reason that I did not was because I did have the NAWCQ coming up, and I didn't want to just release my list, and also, for being honest, the list wasn't 100% that great, so we took what we learned from playing the event, and we updated our list, and now I have what I believe is the better variant of the deck, so let's go ahead and jump on in. To start things off with the Snake Eye package, it is going to be what we have seen pretty much across the board. We have our 3 copies of Snake Eye Ash, our 2 copies of Snake Eye Poplar, our 1 copy of Oak, and then our 1 Flamberge and our 1 Snake Eyes Diabellstar. This is really standard. You no longer need double Oak with the new combos that the Fiendsmith add to you, as I showed you guys in the combo video, so definitely put that down to 1 if you haven't already. And then, of course, we still have our 3 copies of Diabellstar the Black Witch. All of this is relatively standard and self-explanatory. This is just what you're going to see across every single Snake Eye deck that you find. Then onto the Fiendsmith, of course, we have our 3 copies of Fiendsmith Engraver. This is just an incredible card, and I can't wait to show you guys what else I have cooking with it, because I have a ton of different deck profiles using this engine that I plan on bringing you guys. We do have our 1 Fabled Lurry, which used to be the brick of the engine, but now with the new Necroquip Princess, this card is a 1-card combo as well, so no longer need to worry about opening that up. But that is going to do it for the actual monsters. Next, we just have hand traps. We have our 3 copies of Ash Blossom. This is just relatively standard. Yes, you can argue to cut it because of the whole Hida thing, but I feel like the payoff of the Ash Blossom is a lot better than the counterplay that your opponent might have for it. We have our 3 copies of Effect Veiler, and then we have something new for the deck, and that's actually going to be Bestials. We have 3 Bestials in total, 1 Magnema and 2 Druis Worm. This is something that we saw a lot of over the weekend, and something that I didn't personally play for the event, but I think if I did, I would have done a lot better. This is just an incredible card into the format, not only being a level 6 to synergize with your Fiendsmith stuff, but being able to keep your opponent off of their Fiendsmith stuff is absolutely insane. And then obviously you also have the added board wiping capabilities of the Druis Worm, so I think that you absolutely have to play the Bestials moving forward. And then we are on 3 copies of Nibiru. That is going to make 12 monster hand traps, but we do have 3 more hand traps for a total of 15. Obviously, our 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. So yeah, we definitely want to make sure we're maxing out. If you watch some of the topping deck profiles, they're playing upwards of even 20, but I wanted to keep the deck count relatively low, so that's why we are only playing 15. Onto the spells for the deck, we have our 3 copies of Wanted. Obviously, this is the starter and searcher for the Diabellstar, followed with our 1 copy of Divine Temple and our 1 copy of Original Sinful Spoils, just mandatory staples for the Snake Eye strategy. We do have our 1 copy of Fiendsmith Tract, which again, thanks to Necroquip Princess being a 1-card combo off of the Lurry, this does become a 1-card combo as well. You can argue maybe playing this at more than 1 for the sake of having it to search additional times if you see the Fiendsmith, and again, the fact that it is multiple 1-card combos off of it, that you have the Lurry and you're shuffling back the Lurry off of the Engraver, so I think 1 is probably correct, but it can be argued. Then we have our 3 copies of Bonfire, just the rota for the deck, don't really need to explain it. And finishing things off, something that I didn't see in a lot of profiles over the weekend, and I'm absolutely surprised about, is 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. With the uprising of the Bestials, I think that the Triple Tactics Talent is very important, because in a best case scenario, you just get to rip cards out of your opponent's hand and maybe get rid of the Bestial before they even use it, if they've used a hand trap previously, or if they do end up using a Bestial on you, you can take the Bestial, and guess what? The Bestial's a level 6, meaning that you'll probably be able to full combo through the Bestial, because what is it that they're getting rid of with the Bestial? It's likely going to be your Engraver, meaning that you are swapping out a level 6 for a level 6, and their Bestial didn't really do much for them. So I think that this is really important to play, and I'm very excited to see if more people pick up that mentality moving further into the format, but we will just have to see. That is the main deck at 41 cards. Let's show you guys the extra. Now, our extra deck is admittedly a little bit experimental because I based it off of what I saw most commonly played at the topping decks of the NAWCQ, but I still have some personal gripes with it, and I'll go over those as we get there. But to start things off, we have our 3 fusions in the Lacrima, the Necroquip Princess, and the Fiendsmith Desiree, and this is going to bring us to our first gripe. I don't personally like the Fiendsmith Desiree. I understand the uses for it. You can use it to get rid of like board breakers, like if your opponent Dark Rulers and you happen to have a chainable card that isn't a monster effect, you can then use the Desiree in chain to your own effect and hit the Dark Ruler. If your opponent has evenly matched, you can go ahead and get rid of their evenly matched. You can use it to negate your own princess, getting you out of the fire lock and making it much easier to summon something like Appaloosa. So the card is very good, but the reason I don't like it is because by playing this, you're sacrificing something very important, and that is the DD Wave High King Caesar, which I think is incredibly important for your anti-Nibiru lines, as well as a really good fallback to just end on if your opponent hand traps you upwards of 4 times, which can happen in this format. Just being able to sit there on a Wave King Caesar, tell them that they can't special summon, and pretty much win the game off of it is really incredible. So I am testing out the Desiree, but personally I do like the DDD XYZ way better. Moving on to our only XYZ is the Beatrice. Now, this is a very hard concession for me to make because I feel like the M7 and the Wave High King Caesar are really crucial parts to the deck, but there are definitely things that I was missing out on by playing them, so maybe we'll come up with a reiteration of the extra deck that is able to fit those in later on, but for now it is just going to be the Beatrice. Onto our Link 1s, of course we have our Requiem and our Anima. Requiem is just Requiem, you need to play the Fiendsmith engine because that engine is absurd. And Anima, while you can cut it, because I did show you guys some 1-card Poplar lines without Anima, it just comes up way too much. It's really easy to force your opponent to play into the line. It's really useful for playing through something like an Ash Blossom on the effect of your Snake Eye Ash by going and linking the Poplar away into it. Then Poplar can reset out your Snake Eyes Diabellstar, Snake Eyes Diabellstar can summon, and then you have 2 monsters to go into your Fiendsmith combo. Speaking of, we have the Fiendsmith sequence as the start of our Link 2s, followed by quite a few other ones. Obviously, we have our Hida, our IP, our Moon, which this means that any 2 monsters on board turns into full Fiendsmith combo. And then, of course, to pair with the IP Masquerena, we have our SP Little Knight, and that's going to do it for the Link 2s. Onto the Link 3s, we are still playing the Promethean Princess because it is a fire deck. This card is just absolutely insane. And the 1 copy of Selene. Now, it's really interesting because in this version of the extra deck, more often than not, you're not actually using Selene to go into your Appaloosa, because you're able to use the Desiree to negate your Promethean Princess, and then you can just turn the Promethean Princess and one other monster into the Appaloosa. Selene is actually far more useful in this version by going into something like an access code later on to go for the kill shot in the game. So I think that it's a little bit weird. Like, obviously you still have combos where you're going to do this, like the Snake Eye Ash plus Diabellstar combo to make your Appaloosa as early as possible, but it's definitely more useful for making the access code in this particular version. And then finally, of course, we have our 1 copy of Appaloosa rounding out the extra deck. And yeah, like I said, there's still some things that I'm not necessarily too happy with. I think I might change out the Desiree for the Wave High King Caesar just because I feel like that's a little bit more of an impactful card, but time will tell, so there you guys have it. And that is going to be my updated Snake Eye Fiendsmith deck profile for the upcoming format. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something. As always, don't forget to check out the channel sponsored Dueling Guard. Using code INSANE18, you can get 5% off your entire order. And do not forget the popular Monster Metal Field Center for sale on InsaneTCG.com. It is a limited run, so make sure you get yours before they're out. If you liked it, you know the deal. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with your friends, and as always, I will see you in the next one.